Hello and welcome to another week on the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Joy Ravella. Oh my goodness, we are heading towards the 100th episode mark pretty fast now, aren't we? I just want to say thank you so much. Honestly, to reach this point has been nothing short of amazing. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening, for championing, for sending through encouraging emails to the Everyday Joy inbox, which is right below. And if you want to do that yourself, that would be amazing. Something I do want to mention is that over the course of the year, you'll hear the same verses pop up once or twice. So you might be saying to yourself, oh wait, didn't we do that verse last week or a month ago or a couple of months ago? Well, you would be absolutely right. We've got a bank of verses that we feel are easy to understand, applicable, and cover all the main areas of life. What I love about repeating verses with different guests is the fact that they bring different stories, different insights, and you kind of look at this Bible verse in a multidimensional way. God's word is so rich. There's so many beautiful layers to it. And every single time I look at the same verse, I discover something new. That's the beauty of God's word, and that's something we're going to do this week on the Everyday Joy podcast. Right now, though, let's get into today's Bible verse.
Friends come and friends go, but true friends stick by you like family. This is found in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 24 from the Message Bible.
Today, I am so excited to have Gig here. Gig, this is your first time joining us here on the Everyday Joy podcast, and I'm so excited to have you.
I'm actually feeling quite privileged because I have been listening to these podcasts, and they are moving me joy. They are enlightening me, and it's a very special place.
Well, one of the reasons why I really wanted you to be on this podcast, and if you may not know this, but the Everyday Joy podcast is part of Positive Media, and we have a radio station here in Melbourne that's been running for over 20 years. And Gig, not only do you volunteer behind the scenes, you are known as the go-to caller. So whenever we as announcers see your name pop up, we're like, oh, this is going to be a good story. And so you've shared a lot of your heart and your life on the airwaves anyway. So I know the listeners of The Light love and know you. But to our podcast listeners, could you just introduce who you are, a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm known as Gig from Emerald because that's where I live, up in the hills. I'm a mum of two beautiful girls who are 10 and 14, married to the amazing Steve, who was an absolute gift from God. And I love The Light because it sees me. It is a real important part of my life, and I've been listening for probably about 20 years now, and I love giving to The Light financially as well as physically, spiritually, mentally, the whole shebang. So being a part of this little offspin that you're involved in is an extra special gift.
Oh, thank you for giving of yourself vocally now as well.
I'm good at that.
So we're talking about Proverbs 18:24. Friends come and friends go, but a true friend sticks by you like family. Mm-hmm. What are your first impressions of this one, Gig?
Wow, this verse tells me to chill, not to worry, Joy. It is just, God's got me. It reassures me that the friends that are in my life are there for a reason, and they're my family. God's got me. Don't overthink it. Accept the people who are in your life and, move with it.
Yeah, and I think for me, my first impression is the sentiment that you expressed, to move with it. For me, I remember so many times in my life where a season of friendship would end and I would be distraught.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't comprehend, how could my friend of 10 years suddenly not want to be my friend anymore? I just couldn't understand that. But this verse, I think, tells me that some friends are for a season and some friends stay for life.
That's it.
And you need to be okay with that.
You do. God knows everything. He knows everything coming before us, after us, in between, all around. He's got us. And to actually stand back and trust is a huge thing too.
What does this verse tell you, Gig, about who God is or what matters to him?
Okay, this tells me, Joy, that God gets connection. He created us to be in fellowship always. In this verse, he's reminding me, as you just said before, that saying of people are in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So whilst he's there eternally, always and forever, we've just got to, trust him and understand that the friends are there for a reason. love them as you want to be loved, and go with it, definitely.
I love what you said there, like friends are there for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. Oh,
yeah.
That's good. That needs to be on a t-shirt somewhere.
I'm pretty sure it is.
So for me, I think what this tells me about God is what you said. God values relationships and friendships. And I think he values us opening our hearts up to have that intimacy with people, to be able to begin friendships, sustain friendships, and also be able to let them go.
Yes.
And that's a tricky thing for some of us to do. For some, it comes really naturally. Some of us are experts at letting friends go, and some of us are really good at making new friends. And for some of us, we're not necessarily good at either, but we're very good at being consistent and putting into it in the long term. So I think there's something we can all take away from today's verse, wherever you're at, however you find yourself today.
Yes.
Gig, how does this verse apply to you in your everyday life?
Joy, for me, I can apply this verse with complete confidence, and there's not a lot of verses I can do that with, because I know that God's got the right people. I know they're hand chosen. They've either come to teach me patience. When you pray, God, just give me patience. He's not just going to give it to you. He's going to bring situations, and it's usually through your friends that you learn these things. And there's those, we all have those group of friends, like we can count on our hand. We've got those usually 4 or 5 friends, and each time we catch up with them, it might be 2 to 3 times a year, and it's like coming home. They're the friends that are in our life, and I think they're the lifetime friends. And we don't see them, we always say we don't see them nearly enough as we should. But I think they come at the right time, and they're in our life for the right amount of time. And they're also the friends you can ring at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they will be there for you. So, I mean, for me, I just trust God has got the right people at the right time in my life. And that's one thing, I can do with great reassurance and great trust. I
know that you said a little bit earlier, the 2 a.m. friends, the ones you can call up. I know for a lot of people listening now, there are probably a few people listening who might not have 2 a.m. friends, or might be going through a season where in this environment right now, the people they would go to, they can't go to. Maybe they've got kids of their own, or they're going through their own life stuff. What would be your thought or your encouragement for someone who wants and yearns to have a true friend who sticks by family, but as an adult, it's really hard to make friends?
It is.
Where do you begin? How do you do that?
My golden rule is whatever I want in a relationship, I'm going to bring to the table first. Joy, if I want someone to be in my life at 2 a.m, I make sure I'm available at 2 a.m. for whoever needs me. And I find any area of my life that I need and want, if I make that a priority to do in other people's lives, it always comes back. Always.
That's a really good thought. So to wrap up today's conversation, what would be your summary thought or one last bit of encouragement you'd like to give to someone listening?
Don't overthink friendship. Realise it's a gift. God knows we need relationship, and God knows the right people who should be in our life. Sit back and trust. Don't over-try it. And if you're struggling in that area, Joy, reflect and say, Lord, what am I needing to do to attract these people in my life? I think we need to sow those seeds so then it comes back to us.
As we wrap up today's episode, oh my goodness, can I just say that making friends later in life is really hard. And I know that it should be easier, right? Like we've had many more years of practice, but I feel like it's just tougher to connect with people sometimes, and different life experiences and different trauma and all sorts of things like that can really get in the way of forming those relationships. And I love the practical advice that Gig gave. If you desire to have those 2 a.m. friends, you've got to be that 2 a.m. friend first. If in your heart right now you have been desiring having a close friend and you've been wanting to have a friendship that really does feel like family, well then maybe this is your opportunity to sow into that yourself. And you know, one of the best ways to do that is to begin by praying, asking God for good friends, and then asking Him to show you how to be one. Because you never know, just as much as you need a friend, There could be someone there who desperately needs you in their lives. You too are a gift. You too are a delight to be around. And you too could be an answer to someone else's prayer. Well, that wraps up today's episode on the Everyday Joy podcast. I do actually want to mention that this podcast, for a lot of people, is a friend. This podcast is that constant companion, and it's such a privilege for myself to be a part of that process. But I also want to thank you and say that you are a part of that too. Because every time you leave a 5-star written review, every time you take the time to do that, it enables other people to discover this podcast and also find that community, find that companion that maybe they never knew they needed. Well, that wraps up today's episode. If you do have a few minutes to leave that review, it really does make a difference. Catch up again tomorrow.